History made. Chicago-born Robert Francis Prevost becomes Pope Leo XIV, the first American ever to lead the Catholic Church. What will this former Peru missionary and Vatican insider bring to St. Peter's throne? White Smoke delivers daily bulletins tracking this unprecedented pontificate as it unfolds. Will Leo XIV continue Francis's inclusive vision or forge a new path blending American pragmatism with Latin American experience? And what does his papal name choice signal about his priorities? White Smoke. Essential daily insights where ancient tradition meets modern challenge. New episodes every day wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey folks, Garrett Fisher here. I need to tell you about this absolutely mind-blowing podcast, Acting President, that's been keeping me up at night. It's about James Bennett, a former governor starring in a hit Sunday night TV show about overthrowing the government, and then his actual former chief of staff approaches him to do it for real. The line between fiction and reality completely disappears when these course correction rallies start popping up everywhere. Is it brilliant marketing or something more sinister? The parallels are insane. Trust me, this is the political thriller you didn't know you needed in your life. Acting President, available now wherever you find podcasts.
Feeling overwhelmed by negative news? 5 Good News Stories is your daily dose of what's going right in the world. Like the 103-year-old granny who got caught speeding in her sports car because she was living life to the fullest, or the family who found their missing cat after 3 years when it showed up at their vacation rental. Remember Flop the penguin's incredible comeback after his injury? And that guy who broke the world record for most high fives in 24 hours while raising money for charity? These are the stories that remind us the world is still full of wonder and joy. 5 Good News Stories. Pure positivity 3 times a week. 5 Good News Stories, available wherever you get your podcasts. 5 Good News Stories.
Calaroga Shark Media.
John Prevost, the Pope's brother, was speaking to reporters when his phone kept buzzing. One reporter shared, "That device kept buzzing incessantly during our whole talk." John mentioned there was also a tablet going off somewhere downstairs, said it could be his brother calling. When John finally excused himself to check the basement tablet, he discovered what every sibling dreads: multiple missed calls. "Good grief," he muttered, staring at the screen. "He's been trying to reach me for 2 solid hours." This is White Smoke. What happened next has captivated nearly 1 million viewers online. The moment John answered, Pope Leo's voice came through crystal clear, with the kind of brotherly critique that transcends all earthly titles. "How come you're not answering your phone?" John, suddenly remembering he's on camera, quickly interjected, "Hold on, you should know we're recording right now." The Associated Press respectfully cut the audio feed there, noting that the newly elected Pope hadn't agreed to any media appearances. They did confirm, however, that the brothers continued chatting, exactly like regular siblings do, with John offering congratulations and making plans to visit the Vatican soon. The Pope also had a phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky. This call occurred after the Pope's powerful peace appeal for Ukraine during his Regina Caeli address on Sunday afternoon from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica. Speaking after the midday Easter prayer, the Holy Father expressed that he carried the suffering of the beloved Ukrainian people in his heart. He urged that every effort be made to achieve true, just, and lasting peace as soon as possible. The Pope specifically requested the freedom of all prisoners and the return of children to their families. His Holiness had earlier commemorated the 80th anniversary of World War II's end on May 8th, remembering how that immense tragedy claimed 60 million lives. He made a fervent appeal against future wars, specifically addressing the situations in Ukraine, Gaza, and along the India-Pakistan border. After their conversation, President Zelensky posted on X about his inaugural discussion with Pope Leo XIV, expressing gratitude for the Holy Father's support of Ukraine. President Zelensky extended an invitation for an apostolic journey to Ukraine, explaining such a visit would bring genuine hope to all believers and the Ukrainian people. Both leaders agreed to maintain regular contact and arrange a future in-person meeting. For over 200 years, it was an unwritten rule. The papacy would never go to an American. The United States was simply too powerful, too political, too involved in the affairs of the world. For decades, Vatican watchers repeated the same refrain. Rome would never hand the keys to St. Peter to someone from Washington's backyard. For many American Catholics, the idea of a pope from their country felt both impossible and overdue. For years, the Church in the US has struggled with deep internal divisions between progressives and conservatives, laypeople and clergy, Rome and the American episcopate. Leo XIV's election brings those tensions into sharper relief. In the US, younger priests are trending more conservative, more traditional in their liturgical preferences, more skeptical of the social reforms associated with Pope Francis. Many bishops have resisted Rome's calls for dialogue and decentralization, and a significant segment of Catholic media in the US has embraced a combative style more aligned with political punditry than pastoral leadership. The US angle cannot be ignored. American Catholics represent a sizable share of the global church's financial resources, educational institutions, and missionary infrastructure. They also generate more than their share of headlines, often for internal disputes or controversial bishops. There are signs of hope. In places like Las Vegas and Houston, parishes are bursting at the seams. New immigrant communities, Filipino, Vietnamese, Mexican, Guatemalan, are revitalizing old dioceses. Churches once slated for closure are now overflowing. Young adults are returning, not in huge numbers, but in ways that suggest a hunger for meaning, for ritual, and for belonging. The Pope also has symbolic power. A visit to the United States, especially if it includes diverse parishes, immigrant communities, and under-resourced dioceses, could reframe what Catholicism looks like in the American imagination. It's not just about Washington or bishops' conferences. It's about the people in the pews, the volunteers in soup kitchens, the students in Catholic schools, and the families gathering around altars every Sunday. One of the final acts of Pope Francis before his passing in April was to lend his support to an ambitious new project called the Immersive Faith Project, spearheaded by the Catholic technology company Holy Deeds. The initiative blends digital technology with spirituality, offering 360-degree visual narratives of key religious figures such as Jesus, Mary and the saints, animated renditions of the Psalms, and a gallery titled Art for Peace, aimed at encouraging quiet contemplation and prayer. Andreas Bartminas, co-founder and CEO of Holy Deeds, explains, "When people think of evangelization, they often imagine something out of step with modern life. But the message of faith, hope and love is timeless. We're just changing the medium. You can't expect 19-year-olds to sit through Latin Mass, but they might be deeply moved standing in a virtual cathedral, listening to Mary's Magnificat narrated in surround sound." The Vatican has a rich artistic tradition, but we're only beginning to discover what sacred storytelling can look like in the digital age. Upcoming projects include AI-assisted depictions of gospel stories, translated into more than 70 languages, and interactive teaching aids designed for educators and pastoral leaders. Meanwhile, social media posts by the Pope's other brother Louis are garnering media attention. The 73-year-old Florida resident posted content that included a video about Democratic Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, followed by an offensive slur. One particularly controversial post called for arresting Democrats who met with Ukrainian President Zelensky, demanding treason charges. Another shared anti-LGBTQ+ content. Lou Prevost, who lives in Port Charlotte, Florida, has acknowledged differences with his brother in interviews following the papal election. He described himself as conservative to the New York Times, noting that he and Leo disagreed on some things. He humorously mentioned their childhood baseball rivalry, with him supporting the Chicago Cubs while Leo favored the White Sox. Lou Prevost reported not speaking with his brother immediately after the election, assuming Leo would be exceptionally busy. By Tuesday, his Facebook posts were no longer publicly visible, and he did not respond to media requests for comment.
There's always something brewing behind palace walls, whether it's Prince Harry and Meghan Markle making headlines from afar, or Prince William and Princess Catherine quietly preparing for the future throne. I'm Mark Francis, and on Palace Intrigue, we cover every twist, turn, whisper, and wink. From royal drama to daily gossip, follow Palace Intrigue wherever you get your podcasts.
In Washington, D.C., power flows through information. But what happens when the most sensitive military intelligence in the world ends up on the wrong phone? In the halls of power, a national security advisor makes a fatal miscalculation. On the other side of the world, a special forces team walks into a perfectly orchestrated trap. When the dust settles, 4 American soldiers are dead, 3 more captured. And the most catastrophic intelligence breach in modern history is just beginning to unravel. Signal Lost, a 6-part podcast thriller about betrayal, courage, and the devastating consequences of a world where even our most guarded communications are never truly secure. When everyone is listening, nowhere is safe. Signal Lost, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Feeling overwhelmed by negative news? 5 Good News Stories is your daily dose of what's going right in the world. Like the 103-year-old granny who got caught speeding in her sports car because she was living life to the fullest, or the family who found their missing cat after 3 years when it showed up at their vacation rental. Remember Flop the penguin's incredible comeback after his injury? And that guy who broke the world record for most high fives in 24 hours while raising money for charity? These are the stories that remind us the world is still full of wonder and joy. 5 Good News Stories. Pure positivity 3 times a week. 5 Good News Stories, available wherever you get your podcasts. 5 Good News Stories,